Most brand advice assumes you have good instincts and just need to trust them more. I built a career on not trusting instincts. 23 years as a quality engineer. My entire job was to find where a system was about to fail or had failed and fix it before it became a bigger problem. You don't do that with gut instinct or intuition. You do it with a methodology. And after moving into brand strategy, I discovered that the reason branding feels like guessing to most business owners is because most brand advice is guessing. And I want to show you a completely different way to think about all of this. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why the follow your gut approach to branding keeps most people stuck, and what a systematic engineering-based approach actually looks like in practice. So here's what gut-based brand decisions look like in the real world. You pick a color palette because it feels right. You write a tagline because it sounds smart or catchy. And you describe your offer in a way that makes sense to you. And then you put it all out into the world and you get crickets. It just doesn't land the way you thought it would. So you adjust. You try a different message, new photos, rebranding, and you do all of that again based on the same guesswork. This is the loop most businesses are stuck in. But here's what's actually happening when brand strategy doesn't work, and it's not what most people tell you. The reason this loop continues isn't because you have bad taste or wrong instincts. It's because you're solving the wrong problem. You're working on the outputs, the visuals, the messaging, the positioning, when the inputs haven't been defined yet. In manufacturing, we call this building before you have a spec. You could build the most beautifully executed product in the world, but if you build it to the wrong specification or no specification, it will fail every time. Branding works the same way. Without a clear internal specification, who you serve, what you stand for, why you're different, every external decision is just a guess, even if that guess looks good. So what does an engineering approach to brand strategy actually look like? I use a framework most engineers will recognize immediately. It's called PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act. It's the foundation of quality improvement systems like everywhere, and it maps perfectly onto how a brand should be built. In planning, that's defining the spec first. This is before any brand work starts. Before we touch your visuals, your messaging, or your positioning, we get the specification clear. That means core values defined, vision very clearly articulated. Ideal client is described and in real language, not just some demographic numbers. These aren't brand elements, they're the engineering spec that all the brand elements get built to. Change the spec and everything downstream changes with it. That's how a system is supposed to work. Do. The second phase is once the spec is clear, the execution becomes straightforward. Not easy, but clear. You're not guessing whether this message will resonate. You know whose problem it's solving, and you're not debating color palettes. You know what the brand is supposed to feel like based on the values you've already defined. This is what separates strategy from aesthetics. Strategy has a spec. Aesthetics is just a guess. Here's the part that really changes everything, and it's the step most brand work skips entirely. Check. Measure against your spec. Every brand decision gets measured against one question. Does this reflect the specification that we built? Does this message reflect our values? Does this positioning reflect the vision? Does this offer reflect the ideal client that we've defined? If yes, move forward. If no, don't. Regardless of how much you like it, this is the discipline that most brand work lacks. We fall in love with our own ideas and lose track of the spec. The check step is what brings it all back. Finally, and definitely don't skip this part, is act. You iterate with data, not just opinions. When something isn't working, you don't rebuild from scratch. You go back to the spec and ask, was the problem in the execution, or was there something in the spec that wasn't quite right? Then you make a targeted adjustment and test it again. This is completely different from, I feel like we need a rebrand. That's guessing. This is diagnosis, followed by a specific fix. I hope you see that when your brand has a clear specification, when you can articulate your values, your vision, your why, your ideal client in specific language, things shift for you. Your decisions get faster, not because you're more confident in your gut, but because you have a solid filter. You run every decision through the spec and it either fits or it doesn't. Opportunities get easier to evaluate. You stop asking, should I do this? And start asking, does this align with my spec? Those are completely different questions, and the second one has an easy answer. And the people who are right for you start finding you because your brand is finally saying something specific enough that they can recognize themselves in that message. I don't guess what's wrong. I engineer what's right. And I built my entire practice around teaching founders to do the same thing with their brand. So if you've been in that loop, rebrand, adjust, tweak, repeat, and you're tired of brand decisions feeling like guesswork, this is what I do. I work with entrepreneurs to build their brand from the specification up. We get the internal clarity right first, and then everything external reflects that reality. The place to start is a free training I've put together called Stop the Whirlwind. It walks you through the exact framework from core values through vision, through a clear decision filter that I use with every client before we touch anything external. Links in the description, and if this way of thinking about brand strategy resonates with you, I think you'll find the training incredibly useful.